Clifton of Band of the Beatmakers, shouting out Fam TV. Check them out on YouTube.
You're watching Fam TV.
You're watching Fam TV.
Now, some people say, well, you're talking about the Yoruba, and we want to hear about voodoo. You know, the people of Haiti didn't come from voodoo land. And when they left home, there was nothing called voodoo. All right? They came primarily from the Guinea coast, the area today known as Benin, Togo, Cameroon, Ghana, and Nigeria. The largest portion comes from Benin, which was a part of Nigeria. And in the folklore of the Nigerian culture, the young man who settled Benin was one of the sons of the Narabatala. Come on, help me, people. No, Oduduwa. See, you're doing your homework, son. He was one son of Oduduwa, who was the first great king of the Yoruba Empire. And so when Oduduwa became king, when he got in his old age, he assigned all of his sons to a different part of the kingdoms to go and settle. And that son who settled the area we now call Benin, where the language we call the Fon language, where the majority of the Haitian people came from, was indeed a member of the Yoruba throne and of the same system that we're talking about, of Ifa. Okay? When we got to America, the concept in the language of the Fon people and the language of the Ewe people, where the word voodoo appears as a part of that language, the word means the essence of God. So if you want to say the essence of God in nature, you say voodoo daha. If you want to say the essence of God in human, you say voodoo gazi. God's essence is in the stem. Okay? And so the European, not understanding, he names all of what we were doing voodoo. We didn't do that. We accepted that. He named it voodoo. And I remember, God bless his soul, how many people didn't know who Max Bourgeois was? Max Bourgeois was the capital cappy of voodoo. He was a great scientist, trained as a scientist. Max died 2 years ago? 3 years now. And that was my brother. And I sat in his yard, sat at his table, helped feed the gods. He was a great voodoo scientist, as well as a technically trained Western scientist. And he chose, instead of going after the wealth, to take that knowledge of science into his ancestral, historical, spiritual system and teach it to the people. He was an extraordinary leader of the voodoo community in Haiti. I think there's a sister who have now assumed the leadership role there now. And so when sitting with Max, I had this experience. When I first went to his house, of course you're scared. You're going into the home of the most powerful priest on the planet Earth. The man that had a voodoo over everybody. And he had a dog this big. What do you call those big black dogs? Not the Rottweiler.
Great name.
No. Maybe the Rottweiler, the big old black dog, right? So it's five of us that go in there, Baino Bello, myself, Leonard Jeffries, and a couple of others. The dog decides he wants to come to me. And I'm kind of scared of big dogs. So Max said, oh, Jake, sit over there. So I sit in the chair. The dog came and leaned up on me. I get up out that chair, move to another chair. The dog get up and come and lean on me. I get in another chair, the dog come and lean on me. So I move my leg around, the dog leaned harder. So I said, you know what, just leave this dog alone. Let the dog stay there. And the dog stayed for about 30 minutes. Then the dog get up off of me and he walked all the way around the table and then he leaned on Max. And then I learned who the dog was. The dog came to get my energy and find out who I was, and went to his master and told him. And the dog was my best friend after that. So when I went back to see Max a few months before he passed, and we were sitting in the house, he had lost his wife also by that time. And I said, where's the dog? And Max said, oh, the dog, she's gone, she's passed away. But he says, but his children is here. So he tells the housekeeper to call them. Guess what the dogs did? They all came in and laid on my feet. just like the mother had done. And didn't move for about 10, 15 minutes, then they all got away and laid on that seat. Then they got up and ran off in the kitchen. If you don't understand that that dog and that man and that environment were all communicating with each other with no effort, and they understood how to do it, that's the science of voodoo that we no longer know. In Africa, we wanted to build a house of fire, we needed a tree. We went and said, oh, my brother, we talking to the tree. You know, I honor you. You give me oxygen so I can breathe and stay on the earth. You give me shade when it's hot to protect me from the sun. You give me fruit when I'm hungry. But today I come with bad news. Today I have to chop you down because I need to build a new house for my son. So would you please forgive me and allow me to pour libations to the ancestor and to the gods, to beg forgiveness and to thank you for what you're about to give as a gift. White people look at us and say, oh, they're crazy. He worshiping a tree. No, he talking to his brother. Because if his brother didn't take that carbon monoxide and turn it into oxygen, he died. Do you understand how significant that is? Those trees give us oxygen. Those trees absorb carbon dioxide. How can you call that trivial? How can you just chop them down and don't try to plant new ones and just wipe out whole forests and then think nothing of it? So, if you want to understand voodoo, you simply have to understand nature. Because those laws are the laws of nature. Go to the next one. Yoruba History and Culture, as written by one of my professors, Akin Jobin, who taught me at City University before he went home to become the chancellor of the University of Ife. In actual fact, he says, culture consists of all the items in the life of a group of human beings. So listen to this now. He didn't say culture is dancing and drumming and singing. He said culture consists of all the items in the life of a group of human beings which make them to feel belonging to one another. Dig that piece. Which makes them feel belonging to one another. That's what culture is supposed to do for you. And that's why we need to get it right. And distinct from any other group around them. So you can't be running around and say we're all the same, because you're not all the same. Culture consists of all the items in the life of a group of human beings, which make them to feel belonging to one another and distinct from any other group around them. It comprises their language, religion, dress, social system, economic system, political system. Let me go back. Culture involves your economic system, your political system, food, your leisure, your medical system, and your technological knowledge. It's not just dancing and drama and theater and music. Dr. Akin Jobin goes further. He states that culture is not static, it is dynamic. Certain items that are no longer useful at a particular period in a particular culture can be discarded, and usually discarded in favor of a new item that would suit the circumstances of the time. So you can't go back and practice just like the ancestors did 1,000 years ago. Some of that shit don't work no more. Won't fit this society, won't fit this ecology. So you have to find the new things in this ecology. When our people came to the United States from from Congo, from Nigeria, from Ghana, they needed a plant to give them more iron because they were working in the fields all the time. They found a bitter weed called what? Collard greens. They know that this bitter weed, the herbalists that came from home, know that in this bitter weed, we can get the iron necessary to keep us in this hot sun working in this field. Yeah, when we get down to the Caribbean, then we get Callaloo doing the same thing. But somebody had to have the scientific knowledge to understand what Callaloo would do. Where did they get that knowledge? They brought that wisdom and that scientific knowledge from home. That's called voodoo. Voodoo is your sacred science. It's not some spooky mystery thing. Next one, sister. And then you have to think of yourself in terms of being a system. because you're fighting a system. And individuals cannot defeat systems. Only systems can defeat systems. And a system is a group having the same or similar structure and which as a unit, work as a unit in performing a vital function. An orderly combination of arrangement of parts into whole, specifically such combination according to some rational principle and methodical arrangement of parts. An orderly, interconnected, complex arrangement of parts, a set of principles linked to form a coherent doctrine, a method of organizing, administration, or procedure. So if you can't do this, you ain't gonna defeat your enemy. And you get to do this if you get your culture hooked up. You get your culture hooked up if you learn your history. Keep going. This becomes significant because this is what it's all about. A family is the primary building block of a nation. Individuals unite to form families. Families unite to form neighborhoods. Neighborhoods unite to form communities. Communities unite to form nations. But the individual that form a family must first transform itself into an ethical, cultural, ethical, moral, principled being. And that's where your institutions that make up your system comes from. And since our institutions have been shattered, we've got to go back and fetch it. We got to Sankofa, see them birds there? We got to go back and fetch it. Look at what it's going back to get. It's going back to get the egg. To bring forward the wisdom of yesterday to be examined to see what its usefulness is for today. Go next. The primary motivation for organizing the family is to provide food, clothing, shelter, and security. Go to the next one. That's why we do what we do. We went to college to learn, to get a job, to get a skill, to get money, to buy food, clothing, and shelter. You didn't go to college to be a doctor. You became a doctor because you want to be able to provide food, clothing, and shelter. You want to be a teacher because you want to be able to provide food, clothing, and shelter. You want to be a carpenter to provide food, clothing, and shelter. Stop confusing yourself. Well, I'm going to college, I'm going to be a lawyer. No, you're not. You're going to learn lawyering so you can make some money, so you can provide food, clothing, and shelter. Get it right, and you'll be motivated appropriately. Go to the next. The 6 building blocks of any nation, the individual, the family, the ethnic, clan, or cultural state, the neighborhood, the community, and the nation state or kingdom. The reason we can't come up with a nation is we can't take care of the individual character, we can't build the appropriate family, and so we'll never get to building that nation until we come back here and start with the transformation of the individual, changing yourself. Go to the next. Go to the next. 3 primary areas which people must organize: culture, economic, and politics. Economics is the wealth in your ecology. And you've got to learn how to extract that wealth from your ecology, whether it's in the environment where you can provide coal or gold or oil, or if it's in the urban setting, like here in Toronto. Guess where your wealth is at? It is in your tax revenues that they're taking from you that are supposed to be returned to your community. And you're supposed to have elected officials that's supposed to be organized in a manner that can take the tax dollars, that's your revenue that you work hard for, and they said, we're going to hold this in account for you so you can get your services like fire and police and sanitation and health. But if you don't organize to get that wealth back in your community, you'll be walking around in poverty, like we do. Go to the next one. Economic organization. Economics come from echo, a prefix meaning the ecology, concerned with the relationship between organism and their environment. Economics is study of the way in which natural resources are used and how the wealth they produce is divided, and of the application of the underlying principle to the needs and prosperity of society. Now, banking is not economics, bookkeeping is not economics, accounting is not economics. Those are tools of economics. This is what economics is. Go to the next. Culture, cultural organization. Now, the culture is very important. Culture is the training, the improvement, the refinement of mind, morals, taste, to develop or grow. Culture is the tool that gives the people their shared definition of reality, their sense of order, and maintain group integrity. Culture is the training and the development of the mind. Culture is the refinement of tasks and and manners acquired by such training. Culture also involves the social religious structure that produces the intellectual and artistic manifestation that characterizes a society. Culture is responsible for the rearing, the cultivating in a prepared manner, in a prepared medium, the next generation. Go to the next. Culture continues. Culture maintains the group historical consciousness. Culture is the educational and the spiritual system, i.e. the socialization instrument determining our values, our interests, and our principles. Culture should be viewed as a scientific construct representing the vast structure of language, behavior, customs, knowledge, simple ideas, and the values which provide the people with a general design for living in patterns of interpreting reality. And if you don't have your culture, your blood is in trouble. Go to the next. Culture is the expression of people's efforts to evolve a mode of life suitable to its environment, and in any modification in the environment demands corresponding modification in culture. Culture is the means by which the people protect themselves from genocide. So you know we ain't got our culture. Go to the next. This thing is important, because I threw this up in there today while I was upstairs working. Well, I'm sick of hearing Negroes talking about I'm in the conscious community. First, you don't have no doggone community to be in consciousness. So let's look at what consciousness is. Consciousness, to be immediately aware of while mentally recognizing to some degree and extent one's own inner feeling and thought or their objective reference, meaning your intuition, your intuitive self. You got to be aware of it. Consciousness, to be mentally alert, well aware of some object, impression, or truth. Consciousness, the power of self-knowledge, internal perception. Consciousness is a product of direct and convincing knowledge, whether of external or internal object. Go to the next. Spirituality. This one everybody be banding on. I'm spiritual. I'm in spirituality. Spirituality is reality. Spirituality is reality. It is being conscious of the moment you're living in, being guided by the wisdom of our collective ancestors and the divine laws of nature. This is voodoo I'm talking to y'all about. I know y'all want to hear some foreign terms and some mysterious stuff that nobody understands. That ain't working for you anyway. So let's try to figure out if we can figure something else out here. Spirituality is a systematic understanding of our relationship to the Creator and creation, deriving from our ancestors' observation, examination, contemplation, and study of the universe, their immediate environment and ecology. Spirituality occurs when one is conscious of their immediate reality and is actively involved in it. Spirituality is the resulting condition, habits, practice, principles, concepts, ideas, and rituals that inform the culture that instructs the society Africans built. This body of knowledge is derived from being instructed and informed by our ancestors and the divine laws of nature. It is, of course, God, the Creator, and creation itself that are our original and primary ancestor. Thus, we are always aware of the fact that we are having the human experience. Go to the next. Spirituality in its fullness is being conscious of and actively involved in your second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, and year by year reality. Spirituality is being communal. Spirituality is being collective. Spirituality is being cooperative. Go to the next. The B. All of y'all got one of these. And everybody came in here thinking they're going to take me on in a fight about their religion. You can't win, so don't do that when we get the question and answer. Okay. Religion, from the Greek, R-E, to go back or do over, and religio, to bind. Religion means to bind back. A religious system should bind a people or a person back to the wisdom the worldview or culture of their ancestors. Now, did y'all get that? Is your religion binding you back to the worldview and culture of your ancestors? If it's not, you got the wrong one. And you should bring about a belief binding the spiritual nature of a person or group to a supernatural or divine being, as involving a feeling of dependency and responsibility, together with the feeling and the practice which naturally flow from such a belief. Religion includes worship or the reverence of the human spirit for divine seeking outward experience, meaning that God is in you, and what rituals are about is bringing it out of you so that you can do something worthy and good for the rest of society. Go ahead. This one I like, because y'all all got DNA and y'all know what DNA is. Okay. Ancestors are your pedigree. You learn your pedigree from your history. God is your original ancestor. People define themselves by referring to their origin. We are the best of our ancestors' genes. We are the latest version of our ancestors. We are the highest tech version of our ancestors. Our children are the best of our genes, the latest version, and the highest tech model. In short, when you talk about ancestors, you're talking about yourself. They didn't deposit themselves in you. They deposited themselves as you. Think of the difference now. I said it yesterday, I said it again today. Your ancestors didn't deposit themselves in you. They deposited themselves as you. So when they shed that body and go, they're continuing on in the new body they created while they were still here. That's the African way. Matter of fact, in our tradition, the concept is called Awu. In Awu, in the Yoruba tradition, it says that we are born into a family, which we call an Ebi, and we believe in reincarnation. And so each time you die, you don't come back as a bird or a tree or an animal like some other reincarnating religions do. You come back only as a human, and you come back only in the family you originally came to the earth in. And you have 8 times to be born to perfect yourself so that you become one with God again, or become what they call an Orisha, helping to teach other spirits that's coming to transform themselves. And in the 8 times, you got 12 steps you've got to master. Ethical, moral steps on principles. And that's why we made up the ethical moral system, to train us to master those things while we're here. That's what the Orisha is about. No one is supposed to worship an Orisha. Oh, I know that scares some of y'all. You're not supposed to worship no Orishas. The Orishas were put here to serve you. You're supposed to reverend them like you do your ancestors. Honor them. Keep going. Orishas are those aspects of God in nature. In Haiti, we call them the Loas. The Loas and the Orishas and the Neteru are the same things. In Ghana, they're called Obosun. But it's the same thing. We are expressing an aspect of the divine essence having the human experience. This is an important one to remember. We are but expressions of aspects of the divine essence having the human experience. We must know that we are spirits in transition. The great light, the divine, brought out of itself smaller lights. It is only through constant replication that the great light, the divine, continues to exist, and know that it exists. Each small light, which is us, represents an aspect of the personality or essence of the great light, which is the divine. Yes, we are all expressions of an aspect of the divine essence having the human experience. And that is the key to understanding Voodoo. That's the key to understanding Yoruba. That's the key to understanding Akan. Because what they're saying is that those things we call Loas, Orishas, the forces of nature, are all part of the great all in all. In the airway, they refer to it as Sobe Lisa. In Haiti, they call it Lisa. And what they mean by Sobe Lisa or Lisa is the totality of creation is the divine. And everything else is an expression of an aspect of that totality. And you, everybody, have at least one aspect dominant in themselves. but you may, through hard work, develop other aspects of them. And some may come with more than one. Somebody says, oh, Shango is my head. Oh, Legba is my head. Oh, Yemaja is my head. Then you may be dominant by that one element. But once you master that element, you may want to reach out and find another element that works with that element and build that in your character, which makes you a stronger person. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Y'all sure, because y'all want to have a voodoo, but y'all, this is what voodoo really is right here. Okay, go to the next one. The four gates by which God's power passes into material world by humans is through right thinking, right speech, right feeling, and right action. If your thinking is wrong, you're offbeat with the divine. If your speech, if you speak in foul language and abusive manner and harsh ways towards other human beings, something is wrong with you. If your feelings, you're around people and you can't trust them and you're paranoid, something wrong with you. You know? Your actions should reflect the other three. Go to the next one. Africans see God as the totality of creation. That is every and all things at once. The area people I just told you, they call it Sogolisa, or Voodoo Dazi, the essence of God and man. Go to the next. God expresses himself in this world through the seven kingdoms. The mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom, the human kingdom, the insect kingdom, the fowl or bird kingdom, and the marine kingdom. That's how all of the aspect of divinity is expressed in our world. Go to the next. Now, none of these are gods. This is some artist's idea that if Obatala was a man, that's what he looked like. If Yemaja was a woman, that's what she looked like. So, but it's good to learn these primary Orishas or Loas, because these are the ones that we use in the West, that we were able to retain in the West, and they were very strong for us. You know, I'm Oya. Now, Oya ain't really a sister what I am on her breast. That is, you know, some probably going to exaggerate with that one. You know. But these are somebody's ideas of what Oromila, the great prophet, who brought us the wisdom of Ifa, would look like. Or, where's my brother Shango?
Down to the right.
Down on the right.
Yes.
Shango, over here. The great king Shango would look like, or sing, the great herbalist would look like. Go to the next one. A brother in California painted this rendition of Obatala, and I just loved it. And so I asked him to use it in my slides, and we made a deal. He only charged me $200 for me to use it as often as I want to. But he's talking of this aspect of God, this Orisha, or this Loa, this power that comes in Voodoo and comes in Yoruba and comes in Akan. This force that we call Obatala is the creating force of God. It is said in the metaphor that God sent Obatala down to earth to create the human. And so when Obatala got to earth, he got to create the human, and everything was beautiful. But somewhere along the line, Obatala met the palm tree, and he got to drinking his palm wines and apatashi up in there. Anybody know what apatashi? The palm wine in Ghana, the part they call apatashi. The word for it is kill me quick. You drink too much of that, and you want somebody to kill you quick, right? So Obatala gets drunk, and then he begins to create crippled people. So God said, yo, hold it, and stopped him from finishing creation and send someone else to finish it. So anyone who is an afflicted person or a crippled person, they are considered to be the children of Obatala. And those who are priests of Obatala, one of their responsibility is to pay attention to the people in our society that need assistance in that way. He's considered one of the most powerful of the deities, and there's a big festival that held in Nigeria every year, one of the most beautiful of all the festivals is the Obatala Festival. Go to the next one. Aleba, the messenger of the Orisha, the guardian of the crossroads, he's called Aleba, and sometimes he's called Eshu, and sometimes Eshu Leba, depending on whether you're in Brazil or in Haiti or Nigeria. But he's called a messenger. He's supposed to be the one that carries the message between God and the Orishas and the humans and the rest of nature. But he's also referred to in another context as being at the crossroad. It means in your mind, when you got to make a decision, you're dealing with this concept. And you got to make a decision, or you're going to go into mental and psychological conflict. Next celebration to a local one, go to the next. This is Yemayah, the symbolic representation of Yemayah, mother of waters, or the nurturer, or the mother of creation. This is his wife. In some systems, in other systems, she's the wife of someone else. But Yemayah represents the body of water that can be penetrated by sunlight and where photosynthesis does take place. So our shit's very scientific. So voodoo ain't just some young girl junk stuff here. The ancestors knew all this stuff way back then. Go to the next, I want to tie this up. And this is my favorite girl right here, Oshun. The symbol of sensuality, fine arts, humanity, love, beauty, and intuition. And most sisters, when they're young, they like to say, oh, I'm Oshun. You're Oshun, they just say, get on like, no. You're not Oshun? You dress like Oshun. But Oshun is not just a sweet little dainty personality. Oshun is considered, she is the same thing as Ma'at is in Kemet. And so Oshun is considered to be one of the most powerful warriors in heaven. I'm going to take this 1 minute, finish Oshun, and wrap it. And what Oshun does, there's a period where there's a war. It's called the War of the Village of Women. And all the women of earth is at war with one another. And they run the men out of town. And so God sends the elder ancestors to go and reckon this thing. They came back to heaven and said, oh, Olodumare, there's nothing we can do. These women is just too much for us. So the big town Orisha said, oh, we'll go. So they sent all, shout on everybody. The woman whipped the hell out of them. They all coming up to heaven and said, God, we can't handle those women. You got to go do this. And Oshun came in the village dancing with a pot of water on her head, singing. She said, oh, Olodumare, let me Oshun go. I will handle this. Everybody laughed at Oshun. But Olodumare said, no, Oshun is my daughter, my firstborn. Let Oshun go. Because if anybody knows the story, Oshun was given the art of divination before Romulus. Except she had a hole in her pocket and she lost her divination deeds. So there's a lot of beautiful metaphor in our tradition. So Oshun goes down to earth. And all of this war and confusion is going on. And what does she do? She starts singing, and she starts dancing, and she starts drumming, and she plays a tambourine, and she blows a flute. And the women say, yo, wait a minute. They hear harmony, they hear balance, they hear rhythm, and the women start fighting. And they start singing, and they start dancing, and they start playing instruments. And Olodumare, the great god of our tradition, says, my daughter, Oshun, has brought peace and harmony to my earth. We're going to take a break.
Elder doesn't speak truth. He told me he's going to be short. He doesn't know what short is. So this is the deal. There's some food in the place where the vendors are. Go get something to eat. Support the vendors. Practice some cooperative economics. I hope you bring money. I hear they take cards and credit. So we're taking 15 minutes, Elder. 15-minute break and then we'll go.
And the water up to here, it was so refreshing and so cool. So it just puts in another reality. So the priests who was attending me were Yemayah priests, and they were all wearing blue. You know, the Caribbean water is blue. So when I came where I could see a little bit, all I saw was a black face and a white beard, because the blue had blend. And so I accepted. I said, oh, I'm dead. I said, I'm dead, I'm in heaven, and God really is black. But as my eyes opened more, and I could see other priests in the water assisting, and then I started hanging the drums. And when I was able to turn after they put me in the water a few times to cool my system down, and I turned towards the shore, they used candle to make a blanket of multicolors out of the wax, and I walked on that blanket from the water to where sisters, the ass fellas, the sisters bathe you, but you just stand there and get bathed. And they bathe you, because for 2 weeks you have to wash it. And you get bathed clean, and then you get to put on your new clothing that you have made just for this occasion. And then you're blindfolded again, and you're taken to the inner sanctum of the shrine. every priest got to take an oath to preserve this race and to preserve this culture on our life. I had to take a sword and put it on my belly and said, if I betray this oath, then I will kill myself for having violated this oath. That's the oath we took when we decided we wanted to be a priest. There's more to it that I can't say to you. You can only say to another mission. But that's kind of what the process was for those of us who want to be a priest. But everybody don't want to be a priest or priestess. You just want to learn the system and adhere to it. And what we haven't done enough work on is getting that kind of basic information out to the public. So if you just want to learn how do I practice this tradition, I don't necessarily want to be a priest or priestess. And we're beginning to see that literature coming forth. How to practice your rites of passage. How to, and it's so simple. It's about how to raise your children. How to build a good male-female relationship. How to take care of your elders. How to take care of your own health. How to take care of the basic things that we have lost because we follow other people's ways of doing things. How to remember. Memory is one of the most important things in the world. If you can't remember, how can you imagine? And if you can't imagine, how are you going to create? And so history is the first step in remembering. And remember the concept, read to do over again. Remember, meaning to take the things that have been pulled apart, put them back together in your mind. Remembering. Next one, six. This is the last piece. It's only about 10 slides of dealing with this. When we talk about, part of the system that makes up the voodoo system is the system out of the Congo. You got the rice that comes out of Congo. You got the rice that comes out of Benin. You got the rice that comes out of the area that we now call Nigeria. So there's 3 or 4 different rice and 3 primary rice. One of them is the Congo rice, and that's what I'll speak on tonight, because that's what Wade was helping me with today. And so the Congo cosmos or cosmology, and we're dealing with the work of a brother named Banseki Fukiai, who's from the Congo. Dr. Fukiai died a few years ago, but he's an extraordinary brother. And you need to get his book, where he's talking about the African cosmology of the Bantu Congo. That's the name of the book. African Cosmology of the Bantu Congo. It will blow your mind. African Cosmology of the Bantu Congo. And so what he's saying is everything below this line, in Musuni, this is the spirit world. Everything above this line, this is the living world. This line, which is the Golonga line, birth takes place on this line, and death takes place on this line. And so when we come into the world, and when we leave the world, we in the same conscious realm. And so we come into the world through birth, into this living realm, but we come back to the Kalunga line when we go to death and back into the spiritual realm. And so we are very clear that we have these special places, that birth and death and living and spirit is all a part of the same cyclical process that does not have an ending. It is perpetual. And that's what we call eternity. What Dr. Nobles did, and going down to South Carolina to the First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America, founded by enslaved Africans from the Congo in 1775. These are the people who were also taken to Trinidad and Jamaica, and they found the Polka Man movement. The Polka Man movement was a continuation of this movement that came out of South Carolina. And if you read Tony Martin's book, I told you about the book last night, A History of the Caribbean, which is one of the best documents written on the Caribbean. You must get it. And he really deals with the subject well. And so in the church, he found these symbols on the floor and the patterns of the whole, which showed that we brought our tradition to America. We didn't lose it. We brought it to the Caribbean. We didn't lose it. What we're calling voodoo is simply the African way of life. Let me hear y'all say, voodoo is the African way of life. It's not something aside. It's not something you can go pick up and bring with you. It is what you should be. It is your understanding of ecology and cosmology and your relationship to ecology and cosmology and its relationship to you. Go to the next one. And so Wade laid this out for me. And Dr. Wade Nobles was also a priest in the Yoruba tradition, a senior priest in the Yoruba tradition. He said, and he's also a chief in the Ghana tradition, in the Ashanti region. He said, the Western or white grand narrative, the Greco-Roman Judeo-Christian narrative, reality, they deal with matter as primacy of individual, linear oppositional polarity, separateness, domination, logical positivism, biological determinism, social Darwinism, natural science reductionism, and postmodernism. That's a lot of stuff, but they're gonna make a DVD of all of this stuff, and y'all can buy it from the organization, help them out, and then you'll really get the information. The knowing framework deals with the Genesis, and it's a creation myth, the meaning of being human, the concept of life and death, and that's what everybody's creation myth is about, the meaning of being human. The question is, whose meaning of being human you're living by? Are you living by the meaning of being human that is your ancestors, which we call voodoo, or are you living by the Greco-Roman meaning of being human, which is European? He talks about the intellectual mindset and the comparative valuation. The intellectual mindset of the European is based on differences, aristocracy, elitism, classism, racism, sexism, genetic inferiority, caste, permanent attribution, empirical, and rationalism. And he was trying to look at better than superior, inferior, good versus bad, white versus black, man versus woman. This is the way his society is strapped. This is his sort of grand narrative. And he runs the world according to this mind concept. And you're living according to the same mind concept, that's why your lives are a mess. All of us. I'm still trying to get out of the hole. I'm up here talking, but I'm not out of the hole. But I'm trying to get out of the hole. At least I can see my way out of the hole. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to help you see your way out of the hole. Go to the next one. Now the African grand narrative, the Kemet, Nubia, and the Bantu Congo, our reality is spirit, primacy of the whole, consubstantiation, meaning we can explain to ourselves why we are who and what we are. Personhood, synergy by interconnectedness, circularity, holism, collectivism. And again, our knowing framework is our creation myth, our meaning of being human, our concept of life and death. When it comes to our intellectual mind, and it's declarative and illumination, he says, we deal in commonality, centeredness, transformative, transcendence, improvisational, inspiration, agency, will, nomo, which is invocation, and intentionality, and revelation, which is completely the opposite of all of that stuff that the European are working from. And at the end of the day, we says, I am the greatest, I am a man, I shook up the world. He's using Muhammad Ali because the key is I be. I am being. And I'm constantly becoming human again. So that's what they took away from us, is our human beingness and our way of becoming human beings. Next. I told you earlier, you're suffering from a static consciousness and a fractured identity. Direct evidence of static consciousness and fractured identity is disconnected spirit, is the limiting of one's humanity to a racial category defined by racism. Read that again for yourselves. Direct evidence of static consciousness and fractured identity, which is disconnected spirit, is the limiting of one's humanity to a racial category defined by racism. Static consciousness, represented by disconnected spirit, cause black people to deny or claim as irrelevant anything African as having value and worth in the conduct of life and living. The symptoms of this is aphrophobia, a persistent, abnormal, and irrational fear of things African. Europhilia, a positive, unwarranted feeling of love, liking, and affection for things European. Grecomania, a violent derangement of the mind due to Greek thought and ideas. When addressing or confronting the big question or challenge of living, this syndrome inhibits African people from ever even considering that African thought or beliefs may have value in solving the problems of human life. And we know that most of our people, when you say voodoo to them, they think exactly what this says. Next. Now, one of the best examples of voodoo at work was the Haitian Revolution. Now people say, well, the Haitian Revolution and voodoo was so good, why are we in the place we're in? Because when the traders killed Dessalines, they not only killed Dessalines, they killed hundreds and hundreds of voodoo priests and brought Catholicism back as the ruling force in Haiti. It isn't voodoo that destroyed Haiti. It is Catholicism and Christianity and white supremacy. And if we were to go back to voodoo, we'd solve this problem in Haiti tomorrow. So the historical class of humanity in Haiti serves as an important opportunity to illuminate how privilege, class, gender, culture, race, religion, and caste should be understood as questions of consciousness, identity, and humanity. How remembering or re-experiencing of an African meaning of consciousness is essential to the liberation of the African mind and development, empowerment, and revitalization of African people worldwide. Got to read that again. How remembering or re-experiencing. What he's saying, when you remember something, you re-experience that event in your nervous system. Thus, you are in that place at that time. So, how remembering or re-experiencing of an African meaning of consciousness is essential to the liberation of the African mind and the development, empowerment, and revitalization of African people worldwide. Go to the next. Bebes, y'all see these little symbols that we call bebes, and just think about that. These are the bebes. This is what is called a bebe. And when you go to a voodoo ceremony or peristyle, they're painted on the floor, usually using cornmeal or some other flour replica that you could do. And these bebes represent different loas or powers or forces of nature. So in this case, this is Papa Legba, this is Dambala, this is Erzule Dante, and this is Simba. And one of my forces is Erzule Dante. But unlike many people, I also have Erzule Frida. So I carry both of them. That's scary, right? There's some bad folks. And you mess with me, they're gonna get you from the front and the back. So these bebes symbolize these schools of thought. These are not just singular objects. Though they may be represented by a singular ideogram or anthropomorphic symbol, these are whole schools of thought, whole books of philosophy on certain aspect of human beingness. And the priests of any of these areas must master this school of philosophy and be able to assist society's development and to aid the people of that society by using these skills. We call them loas or we call them gods, but they're not gods the way we think of gods in terms of Christianity. These are powers that are present in possibility to be present in the character and mind of any human being, but they must be developed through tutoring and knowledge from the masters we call Mambos and Hogans, because that's their job and that's what they do. Go to the next. Voodoo, African spiritual science. The hidden success of the Haitian Revolution. The Voodoo Loa, Legba, Dambala, Simba, and Elizabeth Dante, believed to be significant in sparking the Haitian Revolution at the Boss Cayman ceremony. Boss Cayman means the alligator island or the alligator swamp. And this is where they went to hide from the French while they were plotting and planning the revolution. This is where Boukman, had that special prayer to give up the gods of your enemies and to take the gods of your fathers and your mothers, your ancestors. And he called on Ogun in that particular prayer. And so, I'm going to finish soon, but I'm going to throw it about the shot. How many minutes I got? 2? No. So, one of it is we believe in diverse forces and waves of energy governing life around humans. Listen again, this is voodoo now. We believe in diverse forces and waves of energy governing life around humans. Spirit beings, we believe in spirit beings that protect and guide the lives of the living. And we believe in energy fields that constitute common principles, meanings, and understanding of being, and sets of similar beliefs, knowing and conduct of living. This is voodoo. It ain't about killing no chicken. It ain't about poisoning somebody to take their boyfriend. What I'm doing here tonight, philosophically, is explaining voodoo to you, so you have an understanding. Papa Legba considered the voice of God present at the ceremony would have supported the idea that the gate between the world of the living and the mysteries was open. Dambala, a Rada spirit, is the most important of all the Loa. He is considered to be the Loa of creation. In petrol form, he speaks through a flame of fire. Izele Dantoa, which is depicted as the Madonna child in most instances, is a warrior spirit whose mimetic ideation is to be a fierce protector of women and children. Now, mimetic ideation simply means the concept of how we know things, how we understand things, and where the idea from that knowing and understanding comes from. Okay? And then Simba is a very special Loa in the voodoo pantheon, and it brings power, wealth, and insight to his what do you call it? Like those who believe in it, serve it. It's considered the patron of all the magic and magical powers found in leaves and poison. Now, magic in the African sense don't mean some spooky stuff. Magic means the knowledge of herbology. Magic means the understanding of how medicine should be used. And so, I think we're going to talk about Macandon in a minute. Go to the next one. Then we talk again about the voodoo cosmology, and when we talk about the life spectrum of the Kalunga line, Nambala is in the life sector, Ezele Dante is in the life sector, Papa Legba and Papa Simba is in the death sector, in the spirit. These are in the spirit world, and this is in the material world. Go to the next. The architect of the revolution, Francois Mackendal, and it's hard for me to read this close up. I'm going to come down. You have to look at it like you. For almost 100 years, from 1679 to 1791, prior to the revolution sparked by Mackendal. Most of us don't hear about Mackendal. We hear about Toussaint and the others. But Mackendal is the voodoo priest who had showed people how to use the poison to kill the plantation owners. You know, when you mix that soup, make it sweet, make it good, and make sure you put a little bit of this in there. So when he lay down after dinner, that's it. So they chased this man for many years in the bushes, making him get him. So for almost 100 years, from 1679 to 1791, prior radical revolution sparked by McIndoe, the island of St. Dominique witnessed the wrath of African striving to be free. Continuous struggle sparked by McIndoe, irritated by Boukman, reignited by Toussaint, and further given birth by Dessalines. Now these people he referred to, they was a Eboko, or Hogan, meaning a priest, high priest. Knowledgeable about the bow. The bow is the power, the force. Support the idea of the invisible being greater than the visible. The visible world being comprised of the human experience, ancestors' experience, and the soul man experience. As Boko, he would have some understanding of the invisible power in nature's plants, knew that the power of Bo could be used to both protect and direct human affairs, including the fight for freedom. McIndoe's plan was to distribute poison to enslave Africans, to add to their masters' meals, and when sick, to slaughter them all. Go to the next one. Let me just go. You know Toussaint, so go to the next one. This is what I wanted you to see, because I'll show you the brain on European infective steroids. And this is what the brain should look like when it's on African herbalism. Our brain is not made up of one thing. We are KwaZulu, we mean the people in this hemisphere in the diaspora, all right? Jamaica, Haiti, North America, Brazil, the islands. We are made up of the Hausa, the Bambara, the KwaZulu, the Yoruba, the Bantu, the Dogon, the Congo, the Luba, the Wolof, the Ewe, the Fon, the Sante, the Jola, and so forth. Our mind should be informed by the information and knowledge of the culture of these people. But if you don't know your history, you don't have the information of these cultures, how can your mind be informed? It means your mind is only being informed by the mimetic infection of European values and interests. Go to the next one. Psychological empowerment. 3 powers we are born with. The power to bless. Learn to bless yourself. You don't allow yourself to be blessed by someone you don't know. You may not know their true intentions. Praise is a form of blessing. We must realize that everyone is not our friend. Power to protect. Learn to protect yourself. Teach your children to plant. This requires us to cherish, care, and communicate. Also, we can feed ourselves. And the third is the power to heal. Healing comes from within. We have a self-healing potential. And when we call on that power, the viruses will be burned away. Go to the next, this will be the next. Again, another psychological imperative that Wade put down talking about being divine, when we look at ourselves from a voodoo perspective, is how do we come to know the voice of God and walk like Papa Legba? How do we see in ourselves the spirit of wisdom and divinity of destiny and prophecy and be like the prophet of Romulan? How should we behave so that we become the cause and consequence of special blessing like the Simba and the guardians of sacred space and change like Dambala? How do we train our minds so that our consciousness reflects the attributes of wisdom, purity, authority, calmness, reason, gratitude like Obatala? When do we see in our nature the protectors of our future? Children, woman, like Erzuli Dumpling. When do we define our identity as having the qualities and attributes of passion, strength, outspoken assertive, diplomacy, fierceness, and protectiveness like Shango? Each of those verses of the meaning of those red names are the Loas of Voodoo. Go to the next one. And this is the last. To be an African, to be family, to be awesome. That's what this whole thing is all about. Thank you.
Your voice is heard. Make yours one, and we'll let you respond in one. Sister Tiki, let you give a signal that is over one. Who has a question? If it's a question, make it good. If it's a statement, make it short. It doesn't matter. Pick the first person and start.
So very quick, I was talking to a group of people about this, not the lecture per se, but the field for good. And we learned from Professor Isa, though I didn't get a chance to listen to the lecture and get more info, and that's why I'm asking the question, that the first church that was built in the United States was in fact a voodoo church. And I would like to know if you know about it and if it's true. Thank you.
I know Professor Issa, but if we see, when we do things like that, we're making statements we can't substantiate. Nobody knows when the first church was built or what it was. But since the Africans came from Africa and they brought their voodoo with them, one must assume that the first thing they know to build is their voodoo community. They don't learn Christianity till later. The only thing they can build is Obia, Voodoo, Yoruba. So that's what we built wherever we were. So in the area of South Carolina, this church that Wade talked about, the Baptist church, the African Baptist church, you can still find them in South Carolina. They call the African Baptist church. But the people who built this church, before they built this church, they're the people we call the root men and root women. These are the Obia man and Obia woman are from the South. So the first thing they built was their way. No one knows what the first one was or what it was called. We didn't call them anything because that's not the way Africans define reality. We just did our behavior in an appropriate way to suit our understanding of reality.
Thank you. So when you go to the back, you gotta come back to the front. You gotta do both, all right? So let's go.
Professor, for the last year and a half, there's been a circus on television with some clown called Trump. And my question is, when there's a diversion and there's something happening like that, what's going on behind the scenes that they're not telling us? The event, actual events that matter. I mean, last night we mentioned Sudan, and I just wanted also to know where we should go for information that they're not reporting. Thank you.
First thing, I don't give two things about Trump or anybody today. I don't think about him, talk about him. Amen. What I think about and talk about is what must be done for ourselves. Doesn't matter what they keep from us. If they didn't keep it from us, would we know what's going on in Sudan? Now, it's our duty to know what's going on in the African world. No matter what nobody else is doing. We're the ones being irresponsible when we don't know this. There should be nothing going on. We don't know. I'm an old man, and I know what's going on in the Congo, in Sudan, in South Africa, in Namibia. You can too. Guess how what you do? Go on the computer, bring up Namibia, bring up the daily newspapers, and read. That's it. We have to take responsibility to take care of us. No matter what the Trumps of the world is doing, that's their business. What they've always done is try to kill us. What are we doing to make sure we survive? That's what we're listening to.
Thank you.
Come to the front. Sure.
Well, I first just wanted to say, more particularly about Ms. Smalls for being here. I really appreciate your presence, and it's an honor to not only meet you, but to be in the presence of so many African people. I wanted to ask you, I'm a practitioner of Vodou and Ifa myself, and I wanted to let people know in the room who may be interested, who are living in Toronto, or maybe not. We have a study group where we come together at the Black Farmers Collective. at Downsview Park, not to study particularly IFA, but to come together as African
Take
people.
up my time with the advertisement now.
Okay.
Get it out quick.
Okay.
Good question.
My question, when you mentioned Pocomania and the Congo cosmology in Pocomania, I'm going to try to summarize what I have to say. As a Norwegian practitioner who's Jamaican, I have had a lot of difficulty with family members and people in the community researching Pocomania in Jamaica because of the intense fear and severe paranoia as it regards to African spiritual systems in Jamaica. And I'm seeing a lot of comparison between Orisha and Pocomania. So I'm wondering how, in terms of books or in terms of things of that nature, or even in terms of communities, I would like to have a connection to the Pocomania community in Jamaica, a direct contact. And at this point, all my resources have been, used up. It's not something that is even on the front, even if you're practicing Orisha, to get to Pocomania is very difficult. So I'm looking for that connection because my research at Pocomania is showing me that you work with a lot of the same energies that we work with. So I'm looking to find out if you have any information on the community in Jamaica and where they are. What do they?
Not particularly, but I'm sure I can find out. I have a lot of friends and connections in Jamaica. But remember, the system is not different. The law of nature is the same in China as it is in Canada. The law of cosmology is the same in India as it is in Australia. The only difference is how people design their teaching methodology for interpreting and explaining these laws to themselves. Pocomania, you could throw that name out. We could throw voodoo out and just call it how African people do things where they are. But that's what we're really talking about. But I will try to find someone who you can be connected with. I'll make a call and you make sure you give me your number. I think I gave you mine last night. If I didn't get it before we leave tonight. But remember, we're not talking about different things. There's only one law of nature. There's only the forces that make up Shango is the same forces that make up the Japanese deities. They just got a different name. The sun is the sun. The moon is the moon. Water is water. Heat is heat. Okay? The process of transformation is the same whether you're in Czechoslovakia or in South Carolina. And that's what we need to understand. We are talking about understanding and comprehending reality. Whatever we agree to call ourselves, that's cool. Because we're going to give it a definition. I don't care what nobody else's definition is. We give it a definition.
Good evening, If there's one thought or one remedy that you would want us to walk out here with, what would that be?
Study your history. Master the knowledge of self. Learn from your ancestors. And live what you learn. That's the key part. Don't learn it and then have it so you can have an argument with your friend and win. Practice what you've learned.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Hotep. This is a beautiful environment with beautiful Black African people. What I wanted to ask you is, what advice do you have for us for that passion that you bring? Every time I hear you speak, every time I see you on, Baba TV or, Sanada TV, what is that passion for you being in the early 70s that we could train and cultivate the next generation to continue? Because I feel that passion in you like every time that you speak. So what advice could you give to us for us to continue that?
That passion is I love the God in me, which allows me to love the God in you. That's all it is. I love the God in me, that it allows me to love the God in you, even if you haven't realized the God that's in you.
Good evening. I was wondering how there are people invoke the attributes of the gods in their daily lives.
Through behavior, good speech, good character. You know the simplest way to put that? This is our young brother from Ghana, and thank you for what you did with the crystal. That was extraordinary. And for the meditation, that helped me out, helped me get ready. He's from Apam Junction is where I always hang out. I'm not too far from him in Ghana. I'm actually in Oda, on the outskirts of Cape Coast. Give me the question again. I just let some of it go, because I got to think about you.
I was just, well, you mentioned through our behavior, but I was wondering, is there a ritual, or do they enchant the name, or sorry, enchant the name?
We got enough rituals and enough chance to take us to the cemetery. What we need to do is simple. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But don't do that because you're motivated by what you want them to do unto you.
Hey, respect, brother.
Thank you, sir.
I don't put a lot of lotion on questions. I just say it straight. If they ruin water and air and food, should we just take it?
Can you?
Yup.
If you can, then you do. But if you can't, you find another way to do it. The fundamental is providing that food, clothing, shelter, safety for yourself and your family. You want to do it without jeopardizing yourself being taken away from that family. And that's when you study the wisdom of your ancestors and think, what is the best way to deal with my enemy without becoming a sacrifice for that enemy?
That's right.
Respect, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Professor Smalls.
Good evening, sir.
Now, this question isn't really related to African religions, more so politics, because political thought is really one of my passions. So, you know, our past leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, they all had different political streams of thought. And nowadays we have capitalism or socialism. So, I want to ask you, what's your opinion on the political thought that our people should attain and attribute to our lives?
What did Malcolm X say?
By any means necessary.
You just answered the question. Whatever, you must use what works. You can't be in a capitalist society and pretend that you're a socialist. You're not going to accomplish nothing. And so what you have to do is study that capitalist society that you're in and see how you can survive and take care of your family and your people without becoming the predators that they are. And that takes studying history and gaining an understanding.
Thank you.
Greetings and honors.
Greetings on that.
I have a question here from Amor in Germany. Okay, he says, if Dr. Ben's book, The Cultural Genocide, on page 15, he says that the African American ancestors are Moors, and in Dr. Ben's book, Man and the Nile and his family, on page 332, he states that the Moors preserved much of their ancestor teachings from Egypt, Nubian mystery system, meaning that the ancestors of the Moors were Egyptian, Nubians, and on page 33, Dr. Ben states that the African Moors had cultural exchange with North Africans, brothers and sisters through diplomatic relations between both groups. And in Dr. Ben's book, Africa, Mother of Western Civilization, on page 438, Dr. Ben states that the people called Negro in the United States of America and the Batu of American, African continent, and even
Come on now, brother, get to
and
that.
even in the United States. So, and later called the Moors. So, some of the people, while in certain elders, such as Reggie and the House of Consciousness community, which is part of, that you're part of, why do they say that?
You know I understand your question, so end it so I can answer it.
Basically, Dr. Ben is the only one with a doctorate degree in Moorish science. So basically, they all rep Dr. Ben, so why are they not repping the facts?
You know I can't answer for Reggie or any other mind, but I can respond for me in terms of your question to the brother in Germany, so you can relate the question back to him. Dr. Ben, I don't dispute my ancestor unless I do that in a private way. So I can't really respond to that question because I'd like to read the sentence before and the sentence after. If anybody know me, I am one of Dr. Ben's disciples. I'm not only one of Dr. Ben's disciples, I am now the reigning high priest of the craft for the entire Western Hemisphere. And that's the necklace I wear around my neck. One of the things, my Moorish brother, we should stop using public forum to contend. We should find ways to communicate through writing and other ways back and forth with one another to see how we can settle the issues that we're claiming. And since everybody's claiming they know the identity of all of the peoples of the earth, I can't say I'm that smart because I don't know the identity. What I can say at different times in history, we've worn different identities and different labels. What I do know is that we are the human being that is the parent people and the first genesis from divinity. What we were called then, I don't know. There was a time in history, some of us that lived in North Africa were called Moors. But I've never met any African historian who told me they called themselves by that name. But I don't know much about Moorish history, even though I've studied it well. I can't stand with another Moorish brother and tell you I can contend with you. I don't know that. Brother Reggie, who I've been with, and with my Moorish brothers and sisters in New York when they debated each other, I saw in that debate Brother Reggie and the Moorish brother coming to a amicable end. The confusion that happened in that debate had nothing to do with Reggie, who was one of my students. It had to do with Sonetta creating that confusion, because all of us was getting ready to walk out of there in peace, you know. So we just have to learn to learn from the Moorish community, and the Moorish community have to learn from the other parts of the community and find out where we can converge in an understanding, instead of all of us trying to label everybody. Because if you went to the Zulu and tell him he's a Moor, he may have a problem with that. But that's going to affect the fact that the brothers from North Africa, the brothers who were during that period when we took Iberia, the brothers in Senegal and Mali, and those places, they are brothers who come from that culture we call the Moors. I don't see the contradiction that's being argued, is the point I'm trying to make. We carry many labels at different times in history. We have lived on this planet for a couple of million years that we know. We don't know what the original ancestors called themselves. So we stand any good label, and the Moors are certainly a good label, because during the time that some of our people in the North carried that label, we did the most extraordinary things. So I don't even know what the argument is about. We need to stop it and just try to educate each other the best we can. I work with brothers from Bear Bay and some of the other Moorish brothers. I work with the Moorish community all my life, and I've never had an argument with that community.
On behalf of like-minded Congolese people like myself, naili kukwisa yombote Dr. James. In other words, I'm first thing my greetings, Professor James.
Thank you.
Okay. I know that you're one of the master teachers, and there's been many.
I don't know if I'm a master teacher.
Well, many would consider you a master teacher, along with Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and everyone else. And I know that a lot of you are familiar with people like Professor Sheikh Anta Diop and Teofilo Benga. Teofilo Benga is one of our Congolese compatriots, and I want to know what impact and what influences they've had on your teachings and the teachings of other professors in the land of Dutch.
You know, last night when you were talking, you whispered, and I wasn't sure what you were saying. The only thing I can say is that I don't rate myself with Dr. Ben or Dr. Banga or Sheikh Anta Diop. Those are my fathers. I'm a child, I'm a student, I'm 71 years, but that don't mean I'm in that level of understanding. What I see is simply this: I'm just trying to be a servant, doing the best I can, do the best information I can give. It's like the little brother who was out before. I don't care what he calls himself or what his nationality is. I love him because he's my brother. Now, we work out how we know how to love each other. That's how we'll solve our problems, you know. But I'd love to be a master teacher when I'm dead and gone, but I'm not that now. I'm just here struggling to help out.
Peace, Baba Smalls.
Peace, brother.
You touched on dealing with capitalism, and what advice would you have for the community? Because financial literacy is not one of our strong points, and you have that Team Success initiative going on where you're working with young brothers that are pushing financial literacy out in the community. What would you suggest would be a good starting point to get involved with Bitcoins? I know right now with stocks, cannabis thing, people are making billions of dollars, real estate. Like, what would you suggest as a starting point? Because that's
the starting point is to find someone else close to you that you can work with and begin as groups to find out what is the best economic mode for you to deal with. Bitcoin seems to be going good. The cannabis thing is kind of crazy. I'm not totally into that because I don't know what to promote. You know, I suspect the way white America behaves, and all of a sudden now, things that he was throwing us in the penitentiary forever for, he's now saying you can make all the money you want poisoning yourself. So I don't know. And most of the cannabis they're selling, that's not what we used to smoke back in my day. This stuff is all poison, and we need to check that. But I think the key thing is to form economic study groups. You can actually form it in your own families. Economic study groups, and begin to study the literature. Use the concept of the susu, as a brother was telling me last night, as a way to begin to show yourself that you can put money in a pot together and use it to better your lives. There's a lot of methods out here. I can't pick any special one. There's a group in North America called Buy Black 365 who have put together a network of where black banks are, black businesses are, and have rated them, and the ones you can invest with or you need to learn from. So there's many of these things out here, but the idea is get involved in some kind of process where you're organizing and studying to develop some economics around yourself. We have one more question, and then that will be it for us tonight.
Good evening, and I'd like to thank you for being here. Thank you for your humbleness that I always see, and your kindness that you give.
No, sister, the mic is the last question.
Okay.
No, Oshilele, I love you and thank you for pushing the computer, but the sister with the scarf is the last question. And if you don't ask that question quickly, your question is done.
Okay. In this arena, is there anything you learn towards health, to people who are in this field, I mean, doing what you're doing, and just to, in general, so we can live our health? Because we want to be in the struggle, but we're not so healthy.
Yeah, health is an essential part of any people's freedom process. And you saw on those Orishas and laws I was showing, there's a number of laws and a number of Orishas that deal with herbalism, that deal with medicine, that deals with healing. Good health has always been a part of the African system. And there's so much information out here now about diet and other things and exercise, things that we can do for good health. We should start forming health clubs. Walk together, jog together, finding out the appropriate diet to eat together, just like we form other associations, because our health and good health is essential. But thank you again, and I want my Morris brother not to be uncomfortable. I know I always sound hard, but you belong to me. I love you. You are mine. I will die for you.
And we're not done yet, you know, but he behaved like he's 26. But he's working hard till he's losing twice. Give it up one more time for we gotta finish in 10 minutes, so don't leave. Don't move, because we have something else to tell you. I am calling! This is not a telephone calling, turn off your satellite phone. This is an urgency calling. I am calling on Moors, I am calling on Christians, I am calling on Jews, or Gentiles, or Rastaman. This is an urgency calling, I see. This is not an emergency calling. It's not a 911 calling or even a 119 calling. This is an urgency calling. I am calling on youths to come to this calling. This is a serious calling. I am calling our classes, upper class, middle class, and lower class. Our class is out of session, but we can come together and it's a calling. I am calling. This is a serious calling. I am calling Arab Tubman who fought in the abolition. I am calling Walter Rodney who fought them down in Guyana and in Jamaica. I am calling Maurice Bishop in my get up for this calling. You see, I am calling. This is not a calling ball. Whoa, there's a ball in the belly of ball. We have to love each other in the seat. We have to love each other and it's a calling. Stop talking about no one call 911. This is an urgency calling in the seat. I am calling. This is a calling. You know, I am calling Logan Brown who fought racism in this section of the town. I am calling to South Leverture. I am calling John Dr. Lee. I am calling. This is a love calling, you see. I am tired of this hate calling. This is a love calling. This is not a cellular phone calling. This is a drum calling. I am calling the drummers in here tonight to come to board and system. This is an ancestral calling. This is an ancestral calling. You see, young people. Young. This is a spiritual calling. This is a higher level calling. This is a serious calling. This is a prophet calling.
How you guys doing today? Finally, we're on that road. I want you guys to all know that Bubba Smalls, we've been communicating with him back and forth for the last couple of months. It's like, he's like, yo, everybody needs to come to Toronto. Everywhere he goes, he's in New Orleans 3 weeks ago, he was in Newark, everywhere he goes, they know he's coming to Toronto. So there's something special about it. I don't know if it was the flyer, the promo flyer. You guys see it? Where's the flyer with all those elders on the front? Crazy, right? That's my nephew Kofi Patrick put that together. So that was a powerful flyer. We had to kind of like accentuate it by putting Bubba Smalls in the middle because to me personally, all those elders you saw on that promo flyer, he embodies all of that because he built with all of that. You know, he broke bread with all of them. Malcolm, imagine that. He actually touched Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's profound. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a reason why he had to be here. You know, because we have a lot of work to do in the meeting place. I'm not even going to call it 6. Forget about it. The meeting place. The gathering place. I know a lot of y'all know that's TDOT, but let's give it a new rebrand. This is the gathering place. Right? Toronto literally means the gathering place. As you all know, the UN said it, Toronto is the most multiculturally diverse city on the planet. We got everybody all over Africa, all over the Caribbean. So that's why that acronym, GACN, is so critical and so fitting. We are a global African community. We literally are, no matter where in the world we are, where we come from. And like I said earlier, it's not an organization, it's a network. Because there's people who are part of this network who are from McKell Fashion, who who are from Asura Set Society, who are from the Nation of Islam. We got Brother Sankofa and Cypher. We got Brother Oji's in Ghana with Mackie Production. These are all black-owned businesses and organizations that are part of one network. Is that difficult to understand? No, we're one network. So I want you to make sure everybody understands. This GAC thing you see here is a network of many different organizations, black-owned businesses, and individuals. So I have to put that out there so you guys know as we move forward. Make sure that you stay connected. Because in the next little while, we got a couple of more events we have planned. Hopefully, Dr. Claude Anderson. You know who that is, right? Okay. We got Paul, we got Ruben, who are the owners of this hotel, who are waiting for that confirmation date. We're going to get the information from Bubba Smalls. Also, May the 20th, okay? The Asura Set Society is part of our network. Like I said, this is a network. I think it's one of the organizations that are part of this network. We have Shepherd Tepram Sa coming to the city, Restoring the Divine Goddess. So this is a workshop for women only. A holistic health workshop for women. It's a 2-day event, Saturday, May 20th, and Sunday, May 21st, in this hotel, the Toronto Plaza Hotel. What's that, McKenna?
Saturday, men are welcome to help the women in their lives heal.
Okay, all right, so you hear that? Men are also allowed, but it's strictly focused for women, but men are allowed to participate in this event. So that's our next installment, which is May 21st and 20th.